Okay, folks, welcome again. I don't know what the hell I got this spoon for. I'll just mix in the foam. Be right back. Okay, folks, we're back. And maybe, just maybe, I can stay awake this time. Maybe. Perhaps. I've been up for a while. I had to go to a job site today, which meant I had to get up at 4 a.m. instead of 5 a.m. But we got our friend Mr. Coffee here. So we struggled to get these tracks painted in the base color on Monday. Yeah, because we had a model meeting yesterday, so we didn't do this yesterday. So we got to do that. Got to paint the tracks here. Paint the little tracks on the that we made out of green stuff that's on the turrets. And then while that's drying, we'll come and black line the Packwagen, which actually we do the decals for that too. So we got some couple things to do. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and put the decals first. It's all about steps, so you don't have idle time. So let me get. I had some water laying around here somewhere. Let me go fill this up with water. I'll come in. We'll set these decals, and that way we can see what this Packwagen looks like with the decals on it. This is the Packwagen from Rodin. Rodin is one of those companies that they seem to strive to make things a realistic size. And what I mean by that is like machine guns and stuff like that. Machine guns, antennas, things that are really delicate. They actually try, just like DML, Dragon, as some of you call it. I call it DML because it was DML when they came out. And boy, I put too much in there. Yeah, I think we can do this safely. A little bit more, maybe. And what are we going to cut out here? It has two Wehrmacht decals of the license plate. You'd think one would go at the front, one in the back, but they have two different numbers. And this is decal 1 and 2. So this one is supposed to be for some liberation army. It's the one that ends in 08. So I'm not doing that. Oh, and this decal's different. This is 137 and 318. What's going on here? Well, we're going to need this. That little decal. Which goes right here, kind of like the weight, the inspection sticker. All right, and I'm going to take this one. This is going to go on the front. Luckily, you don't have SS ones. I don't do SS vehicles. And then there's 3 of these. One, they're going to go on opposite side. Oh, I also noticed they're available to put them here. So I'm going to put them up there. And where's the third one go? I could put it back here. But we didn't treat that area with gloss coat. So we're going to go ahead and we're only going to do 2. So we're going to do the white centers and then the black, or the white backgrounds and then the black crosses that go in the middle. They want you to stagger these one inside the other. I'll be lazy and I'm not going to cut that out. All right. And then that way when we're done with the tracks and we can't dry brush the tracks because they're still wet, we'll come in and start doing some black lining on top of this, or start doing some weathering over the over the decals along with everything else, and then we'll be ready to do black lining. Some steps just you can do one on top of each other. They don't really affect anything, and sometimes you just gotta wait between them. Happy Hump Day, folks. Or for some people like Mitch, Happy Monday. Today is his first day of work. And we're going to need microset, which I don't know that it makes that much of a difference, but I have it. I bought it. Might as well use it. And we're going to put the little cross here and here. I'd put it here, but it's got to be cockeyed, and it just looks weird. And we're going to put the little description there of the weight thing, so if you get stopped by the authorities, they don't get pulled over. I don't get stopped and have to pay for it in Deutschmarks or something. All right, first up is the decal for the license plate. Like, what's moving out of the corner of my eye? Like the end of the paper towels. Take a little bit of this and just going to dab it on top, hold it in place. All right, and then we have this little informational decal. And it seems to be cockeyed at an angle. It's barely even noticeable that it's there, but... And then the two-part crosses, which seem like they would be a nightmare, but they're really not bad. They're really not bad. You just have to layer one on top of the other. So we're just going to come here with the bottom, put it in place. And do the same thing with the other side. Looks about right. And that looks about right. We're going to go ahead and dab it so it doesn't move on me, because we're going to lay another decal on top of it, which sounds nightmarish, but it's just fine. Okay. And do the same thing on this other side. I used to hate this as a kid. Oh, you're like 9 or 10 years old. You're like, this takes a lot of patience. Now it's like, this is relaxing. There we go. One on top of the other. Take a little piece of paper towel. And I don't coat the entire model in a clear coat. There's no reason to. Well, I will, but flat. I don't need to gloss coat everything. And then flat coat it as well. I'm going to flat coat the whole thing. So I just put this little bit of gloss in places, and I've been really happy using this product, Pledge Floor Care. It works really well. It actually smells great. I don't even know how to describe the smell of it, but it smells pretty good. It doesn't even smell toxic like. It almost smells like some kind of Kool-Aid. Best way to describe it. I don't know what flavor, but yeah, it smells like Kool-Aid, kind of. But it doesn't taste like Kool-Aid. I'm old school. I don't need a label telling me that it's poison. Don't drink it. Death, the ultimate high. Okay. So we're going to go back to what we're doing. So that while this is drying, we can work on that. Just flip-flop in between a couple different projects so we can keep the momentum going. I would rather finish one thing before I started something else, but you actually can't do that because of drying times. So now, one thing that kind of struck me as strange is this is a Plastic Soldier Company Panther, and I actually like Plastic Soldier Company a lot. If you watched any of my videos, but occasionally you'll see something on a model that just looks wrong. It just something about it seems wrong, and I haven't gone out and measured it, but at first glance, it looks like there's an awful lot of space between this track and here. And this is actually the weak point of the Panther. The Panther's weak point is this part of the hull right here. Because it's not sloped, it's vertical, and if you get something that goes in here, that's the weak point is the side. Panther's got lots of armor to the front. It's weak on the side. And this part of the side isn't even sloped. So this lower hull side is definitely a weak point. But there's kind of a big gap there. The other thing is it seems like these road wheels aren't that tall. So, like, just something looks out of place. Without measuring it, it might just be all in your head. But sometimes there's things that make you go, hmm. And one of those things that makes you go, hmm, for instance, is I'm going to pull out the Plastic Soldier Company Mark III G. And you look at this, these actually are beautiful models, but you look at it and they're a little oversized. They're almost bigger than a Panzer IV, this particular model. But side view, the running gear looks fine. The turret is like it's almost like the wrong shape. This slope on the front is too much of an angle. It should be more gradual than that. And this cupola opening is huge. So there's a couple things that are out of scale. Now, with that said, I love Plastic Soldier Company because you don't have to worry about these things falling apart. They're relatively inexpensive and they paint up really well. But, just everything has its shortcomings. So, yeah. So same thing. That Panther looks like it's out of whack. If I take let's see, what else is a Panther A that I have here? I've got one by, who's this one by? this was the BP cast one. It may be an optical delusion because really the way the Panther's wheels look like this. You've got the big road wheel and you have this rim around it, and outside of the rim is the actual rubber part. Plastic Soldier Company has no rim. So it literally goes from the edge to the rubber, from the inside to the rubber. So it's almost missing that. So it might actually be an optical delusion, as I like to call it. And look at the Britannia Panther. Yeah, the Britannia Panther there's no gap at all. But this is totally a wargaming model, so I wouldn't call this thing accurate. But this is this is a G. I thought this was an A. It's a G. It's a G Panther. Yeah, the side of the G Panther is a little bit different. The G Panther goes like this. This is the Matchbox one, whereas the A does a little dip here towards the end. So it's comparing apples to oranges. Then that's not a fair comparison. But anyhow, somehow it looks weird. But we're not entering these in IPMS competition or anything. We're just there's a Panther Commander in here. Does he fit in there? Ish. Nah, one of them we'll make a special commander for him. I got lots of extra commanders and stuff like that. Just something that gives kind of a sense of scale. Okay. Enough of that sidetrack there. Okay, so let's get this German camo black brown. Used to be called SS Camo black brown. It's one of the colors in their smock. All right, and we're gonna need a drop of the whatever the hell this stuff is called, Flow Aid. And let's make sure this is up for live chat. All right. So we're going to go ahead and take the turret off so we don't run into an accidental snafu. And the Flow Aid, what it really does is it allows you to, the acrylic paint almost behaves a little bit more like a watered down enamel. It gets into all the recesses without you having to like push it in there. And of course all this will end up being weathered to some degree or another. I talked about earlier that I went ahead and decided to pull my rules out, which we just moved into this house a couple of months ago. 3 months ago, something like that. And a lot of my rules were packed away. So I pulled these rules out on Saturday or Sunday. Just kind of look over them and see if I get motivated at some point to put together like a little test game with just like a couple vehicles, just to see how they interact with each other. Well, one thing you got to remember, this is basically a 1-to-1 scale. Not only is it 1-to-1 scale, it's like an actual scale. So it's very close quarters. If you're talking about something like a 4 foot by 8 foot table, and the 8 foot length is only like 200 meters. If you play an actual scale, that's point blank range. So I believe one of the things the game does not have how your penetration drops over distance because it's all point blank. So you're basically at maximum penetration for any of these vehicles. So you've got some vehicles that normally would have. This is what I suspect. There's some vehicles that normally wouldn't do really well against others. Like for instance, a Sherman 76 wasn't a guaranteed penetration against the front of a Panther until you got very close, but we're very close. So I suspect that it's going to give more vehicles a chance against different vehicles just because the distance is basically point blank. So but these rules are out of print. Although Noble Knight has a copy for like $65 or something like that, which sounds outrageous, but it was relatively expensive when I got it. But I got a message from one of my friends in Australia the other day, and he started working on some 1/72nd scale vehicles, and I was chit chatting with him back and forth this morning. I was on my drive to the job site, or I wasn't driving, but and he was showing me the pictures of what he'd worked on, and I asked him about rules, and he kind of had the same attitude that I had. He was just kind of painting them just to do something different. And if you got around to playing them, you got around to playing with them, and I totally support that position. Build these things with the intention of playing, but if you don't end up playing the game, that's fine. You just enjoy playing it. Enjoy painting them. What about the people that do 1/35th scale models? They never have any intention of ever playing the game, yet they continually build more. So it's a healthy attitude, but I suspect these are going to look really cool. They are going to look a little rough because these were modeled on the Panthers from Panzerlehr that were in Normandy, and they had extra tracks around the turrets, and they had really big red and white numbers painted on them. Over these tracks. So these tracks you see here that provide additional armor on them, we're going to hand paint the numbers on top of them, and it's going to look kind of rough. I won't purposefully make it rough. I think in trying to do it as neat as possible, there's just going to be enough roughness in it that it's going to look the part. Just painting over the Zimmerit makes it look rough as it is. All right, we've done that side. Okay, good. Well, we got people show up, just nobody making comments. There must be new folks. Oh man, look, I messed that up and put some brown on there. Well, when we dry brush over that with the weathering, you won't even be able to tell that. Yeah, we must have new crew members now that don't talk. That's okay. But for those of you that don't know, I can't tell who's on unless you type something. And there's no reason why you would know that unless you've tried to do a YouTube video yourself. I would just assume that the person that was running the show would know who was on, but not the other viewers. But just don't want to talk to me? Okay. Well, you still don't get to talk to me. You just got to type things. It definitely affects how long I'm on here because, even though it's not constant, you can at least bring a point about, maybe a subject change. It's kind of like when you're playing Uno, right? And when you type something, it's a wild card and you get to change the color. If you don't change the color, it may be on a color that, you might have, it might be green. We might be on green all night long and you don't have any green cards. Yeah, it just makes me wonder, was the mic working? Well, now you told me that, so okay, we're good. It's either Chinese spies or something like that. Well, I've been wanting to watch Godzilla Minus One, and I haven't found a place that lets me watch it for free. Not because I'm opposed to spending money for it, but if I don't enjoy it, I can walk away from it. You know, but I'll watch it with the daughter. The daughter is going to be back permanently over the summer here in, see, not this weekend, the end of the next one. It's my convention in Orlando, and then when I get back, she'll be here. And so we got a lot of movies to watch over the summer. Hopefully. We got to finish watching our Generation War. It's about to be on Amazon May 3rd or something. Okay, excellent. Well, honestly, that's the very first thing I think of you, is that. I know you're into it, and you recommended it. I've heard a handful of people talk about it, and it has always been positive comments. So I'll take that for what it's worth. I just want to see the cruiser. I've been into ships lately. I've been playing World of Warships, not for any money, just kind of putzing around for 30 minutes to an hour every day, unlocking some stuff. I think they were giving away some admiral or some shit, some the Knight Admiral or something like that. So I played it every day for like a couple of weeks to get this guy, and it's a hokey game, and it's all right for me to play it because I know enough about the ships. I can deal with it. But you have games like that are just hokey, with the opportunity of teaching some real history, and you're wondering how many people that don't know anything about the Second World War or World War One, because there's both ships in there, end up learning all they ever know from a video game that is unrealistic to the extreme sometimes. But for the rest of us, it's just a way to play with some ships and just something to do. And I did change the language thing, so now when I play a Japanese ship, there's messages that come in Japanese, and not that I know what the hell they mean, but I've played it enough that I know what kind of messages they are. We just suffered damage, or we've been spotted, or whatever it is. When it's in Japanese, it's all You're looking at 1/700 ships at the mall today. There's what? There's 700 scale ships at. I don't know if I'll like it. I thought it was all right. Well, I'm certainly not watching the black and white version. You're a movie snob, aren't we all? Anybody in it that I know of? Hopefully not. More movies need to have people you've never seen before. I actually remember liking Cloverfield, the first one. I mean, I don't want to watch it again, but it is a big monster. So there's that. Cloverfield was like a zombie movie. It doesn't have a happy ending. The problem with Cloverfield is a problem maybe many movies have. My biggest problem with Cloverfield, I actually like how it was filmed. My biggest problem with Cloverfield is if you have it, you have those kids that are there, the young adults, whatever, that are in the movie, that are all the actors. And when they see something that looks like the Cloverfield monster, not a single one of them had a reaction that I think is realistic. A realistic reaction would be like, I understand they can't say it's Godzilla or it's a Godzilla like creature because it's probably copyrighted, but why doesn't any of them ever call it a large dinosaur? Like, why? I mean, it's not even mentioned, you know? When I record your unboxing videos, are you using your camera on your phone or an app? The camera on the phone. The camera on the phone. And unfortunately, I switched phones. Well, one of my phones kind of died abruptly. After I had it a few years, but I still didn't need to die abruptly. And I lost a couple of unboxings that I had that weren't finished because I wanted to show the finished model, and the finished model wasn't finished yet. But I really like doing the unboxing videos because I do them when I haven't even seen what's in there. None of my shit's staged. It's too. I'm gonna move over to the tracks here. None of my shit is staged. It's too much work and it's too dishonest to be to do that. But a lot of people don't watch them. So that's what I was telling somebody about the YouTube channel, and I may have actually said it on Saturday or over the weekend. You have to do videos that you want to do just because. You don't want to, and other people might say, you need to do this, or you need to do the other thing, or you should do this, or you should do the other thing. And the problem with that is when you start doing things that the audience wants, somewhere in your subconscious, there's this idea that, oh, it's what other people want, it's going to have a bigger reception. And when it doesn't, you're discouraged. So it's like, I'm going to do what I want to do. If people like it, that's cool. If they don't, that's all right too. You've been using this AI called Suno, and it makes some really good music. You could get some good copyright-free music. I have a ton of music that that new stuff gets released every almost every month, and I can use it. It's basically copyright free, and it's part of the editor that I use, which is called KineMaster, also spelled KineMaster, Kine. Plus, there's other copyright free producers. They can get it. I just gotten to the point where it's like, I like doing the music, but man, you could spend a long time searching for the perfect thing, and at some point you just have to be like, yeah, it's good enough. We're not here to compete with what are those guys? The guys that do the wargaming videos all the time from Pennsylvania. I forget what they are, which I think are on hiatus right now. I look at their videos, I'm like, that is so heavily edited. That's like a full-time job. That's like, okay, I'm a member of the club, but I'm not going to play any games. All I'm going to do is edit the videos. Little Wars. Little Wars videos have a ton of editing on them. And I've done enough editing to know that is a huge pain in the ass for somebody. What's cool about the AI is you just tell what music you want, kind of how you put a prompt in a Mid-Journey. Oh yeah, I did Mid-Journey for a little while. That was fun. That was fun. What do you think about that thing that's on? I know you'll like this because I think I figured you out, or I know the kind of stuff that you like. Have you seen the movies that are done in the old Panavision 70s style? Some of them are pretty cool. They're really like they've done like the trailers and Star Wars, the Lord of the Rings. I think they're really good. Lord of the Rings looks better in that than in real life. But I like that 50s look of stuff. I know you like retro stuff too, so I don't want to do what people want. I just see you getting to talk miniatures all the time. I want to try doing something similar for Godzilla stuff. Have zero friends who care about the big G. Really? Not even dinosaur people? Yeah, I like that retro stuff too. I just don't like black and white. I just, and maybe it's because I'm nearsighted. I just feel like because I've been nearsighted almost my whole life, if I don't have a correction, I'm missing the whole picture. And when I see black and white, I'm missing the whole picture. I know that's intended to be that way, but the people in the studio got to see it, you know. Um, so there was a guy many years ago on the miniatures page. He went and he painted. I'm pretty sure it was some World War II stuff, and he painted it like it was black and white. And man, it was really well done. He used like grays and stuff like that. I mean, it's like, I mean, I think it's a waste of time because he could have just done it in color, but he did a really good job with it. Um, I'm sorry. That person did a really good job. Well, it was a war game of World War II. Odds are it was a dude that painted it. Hey, I'm just stating facts. I wish more women played World War II games. I welcome it. I wish I lived with some of them. But I'm just saying, the reality is that um, it's just not really their cup of tea. But I got my daughter that likes watching historical war movies, so we sat and watched Masters of the Air. Actually, she enjoyed it, I think, more than I did. So we got to watch the last episode of Generation War, which she has not seen. The last one. I have is my third time going through that one, and then we'll pick up Band of Brothers and all kinds of stuff over the summer. So I haven't seen Band of Brothers in a decade. Bet that one. Yeah, it was incredible. Sometimes you're like, this isn't my style, but damn, that's good. You know, um, there's a couple of artists that I follow that do digital art, and the first time I'm like, digital art, that's freaking easy. Um, no, there are a lot of crutches that make it, I would say, more forgiving than this. And my daughter does watercolors, and that's really unforgiving. But there's some real talent, the people that do some of the artwork, and both of the artists that I'm thinking of are of the Asian demographic, and it's not anime per se, but they do a phenomenal job. And one of them is female, one is male, and they do a great job with that kind of stuff. And once I saw that, I'm like, all right, there's some potential here. I mean, not for me. That's not my area of expertise. But one of them, the girl, I think she's Korean. She does all these scenes. I think I came across her on Facebook or something like that that they use for like backgrounds for different things. But she does all these scenes between her, or it's not really her, but it's someone of her age, and like a little dog or whatever, and all time. And it's really beautifully done, almost in a Disney style ish, a computer animated Disney style. Really, really. So there's stuff out there, even it's like, this isn't really my genre. You'll still see stuff that's like, damn, that's really good. Like maybe I don't want this hanging in my house, but they put a lot of effort in it. So, as long as you don't take a shit on a canvas and then it makes it seem like, it was some great effort, you know. You really like watercolors. Yeah. Yeah, when they're done right. they do. They do okay. My daughter did something that's amazing, which is not something I would do. I'm gonna go get a Coke and I'll be right back. She's going to the university and they asked her to for some donations for a fundraiser, and she just kind of did this thing in like no time. And this is just a pen and ink, pen and watercolor thing, and it's these facial expressions. Six different ones is just individual eyes, and it was so good. We went and we made a copy of it. We went to Walgreens, and this is in our house now. But this is I love this. I mean, it's just that's just something that you know I wouldn't be able to do, and I wouldn't be able to do it because it's these things that when you're the artist you can see all the errors, but when you're not the artist they get lost to you. So like if I'm painting this, I'm gonna see this little gap where there's like this purple and the blue and they overlap a little bit, and I would be like, why is that there? I would see all these things that would bother me, and um, you don't when you're the artist. But yeah, I particularly like this one. This one almost looks something like Battle of the Planets, thing. You know that man, I loved Battle of the Planets as a freaking kid. Like some kind of like samurai or whatever. And you got some rising sun type coloration thing here, but yeah, this is she's I used to draw a lot, now I just paint, so can't do it all, but this is a pretty cool thing that she did. All right, I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab a Coke and be back in a jiff. Yeah, I love Battle of the Planets as a kid. We were watching that, and I was watching that in Alabama in the late '70s, which I think at that point, right? It's like from 1971 or '72 or something like that. So it was already old. It had been reformatted for American audiences. Not so much violence in it. Yeah, whatever. I never saw the original Japanese one, but man, I loved it as a kid. It's like, what Earth creature is the bad guy's super weapon gonna look like? Is it gonna be a flying turtle or a dragon or an octopus or I love that shit. I haven't seen any of the newer versions. I know there's newer versions of it and things like that, but that's the only anime I've been into ever. Um, yeah, and I got fond memories of it. The one of the episodes, and it was the episode that was called "The Space Mummy" or something like that. It's on season one. I remember I'm like 7 years old, 8 years old. Freaked me the hell out. Because basically the plot is like they create this big mummy that, of course, flies through the air. He's got like rockets in his feet. I don't know why they decided to cover him but he was covered in things. Of course, it's King Kong sized mummy, and he goes to some airport and he's attacking the Japanese Special Defense Force or whatever. And they come in and they got a G Force comes in and you put a stop to them. They start attacking this thing, and I think actually it's the Japanese defending the tanks and their little generic Sherman looking things start blasting at this mummy. This huge mummy is attacking it. This is like, I don't know, 10 stories tall or something like that. Some huge ass mummy, and they shoot so much stuff at it that it ends up burning like the wrappings that it has. And the wrappings, of course, were just like a fake layer or whatever. And underneath, it's like this demonic looking thing. And I remember being like a 7-year old, and I was like, what the fuck? I mean, I was just, aghast that it was like almost like a scary cartoon. And I've never forgotten that. I never forgot that as a kid. I didn't like seeing demonic type things as a kid. Been trying to track down VHS tapes of those old Americanized animes. Were there more than just? Oh, you're talking about like the Lost Cities of Gold. Was that? That was French though. Although I would call that anime. Lost Cities of Gold. My brother was really into that one. That one came out in like mid '80s. I guess I watched that one too. A little bit. But most of them are just, as a general rule, have plots that don't interest me. And I like Japanese stuff, but it's like sometimes they just get a little too. They get a little too. It's just not my thing. It's just not like Japanese movies. Like I don't need to see schoolgirls with Uzis and stuff like that killing zombies. And, like I want to see like samurai shit. Have you watched Shogun? Somebody was talking about Shogun, and said that it was pretty good. One of the viewers, and I said, "Well, that just reminds me of like that 1800s opening up of Japan thing." And I go, no, apparently it's the Warring States 1500 stuff. I'm like, all right, well, I'll watch it if it's that, because I'm into that stuff. I'm into some Wesugi and Kenshin. Shingen and Wesugi action. Okay, going to Iraqi sand. I don't know. I really like the OG version. They all have those practical ship models. Man, I forgot what that's in reference to. The OG version. Yeah, I've only seen the American version of Battle of the Planets. That made Keop sound like. But I remember even when my daughter was little. She was like 3 or 4 years old. I'd brush her hair, and she'd get out of the bath or whatever she took. She brushed her hair, and the bottom of her hair would curl up. And I said, "Oh, you got princess hair." And I had to explain to her, no, I don't mean like a Disney princess. I mean like princess on Battle of the Planets. I think her hair was blue though, right? But the bottoms of it curled up like that. I still remember that. And I hadn't seen that in 40 years, probably, at that point. Original version, Shogun TV series. You talking about the one with Richard Chamberlain? Right? I haven't seen it. Hey, I'm fine having a Japanese movie about samurai with no Westerners in it. Okay, I didn't come watch a samurai movie to see Westerners, you know, or to hear some version of a samurai story, but it's actually King Lear. No, no, no. Tell us your. I want to know the Asian legends and stuff like that in the stories. You know. I mean, if I want to watch a movie about the romance of the Three Kingdoms, I don't want it to be, a version of Pee Wee's Playhouse with with Asian actors. I want it to be the real thing. That's the whole point in watching it. Like people won't get it. Well, then screw people if they don't want to learn about something new. You know. No battles, all character drama. Like about the 80s story, there are no subs when Japanese people speak. Well, that's because you understand it. You like that? So do you like the World War II movies where the Germans speak German? And you don't know what the hell they're saying? I put subs on everything because I don't hear well. Sorry about that. I don't hear well. Yeah, so hopefully we can knock out a few movies while the daughter's here. I'd like to know more about the Pacific War. And no, I'm not a big fan of it, but I feel like I need to, since I'm not doing ancients anymore, it's time to double down on all my World War II stuff. And there's a lot of things that I don't know about the Pacific that I wouldn't mind learning about. There was a model meeting yesterday, and some guy brought in a model that he was building of a Japanese float plane I'd never even heard of before, and I didn't look that up yet. But that's what I've really enjoyed doing that the last couple of months because the people are really into the history. They're building models, but they're also like learning about real shit, and I like that. And yeah, I didn't know anything about this float plane called a Norm. I do like when there's no subs, but since the main character only speaks English, there aren't Japanese subs. It plays in this series, and they do it really well. Yeah, it'd be like when I'm playing World of Warships, and I'm playing a Japanese warship, and I'm like, what the hell did you just call me? The biggest problem with Japanese is that they don't pronounce things in a way that I find a natural way to pronounce because of the break point of their syllables. It's just not something I'm used to. I mean, once I find out how it's pronounced, I'm willing to do that. But when I was building models in the late '80s, early '90s, that manufacturer that I absolutely love. I don't know. I don't love them anymore because I don't do 1/35th scale stuff. But I used to call that manufacturer Tamiya. I used to call them Tamaya, which is stupid. I don't know why I did. I probably just heard it from somebody else. I always called it Tamaya, but no. It's actually should be Tamiya, and actually it probably should be Tamiya. But that's the whole thing is, their emphasis is on syllables that don't come necessarily natural to me. So, um, Japanese spelling is so easy after learning how to spell made easy how crazy English is. Probably because Japanese doesn't have as many influences as English does, which English has influences of everything. But the one I can't stand is French with their, and not because it's French, but because they have the accents that go in both directions, and I honestly don't know. Like, I can speak Spanish, but if the word has an accent, unless your name is Jose, I don't know where the hell the accent goes. So, where's everybody at tonight? I don't know. I have no idea. Everybody turned into lurkers. And I've even had some controversial style, not controversial, but just, pull no punches kind of discussions, and nobody's jumped in on them. I'm not trying to bait anybody. I'm just, things come up, and I'm not afraid to give them my opinion. It's not, not like it's that outlandish. I don't have more viewers because I don't have really outlandish things I can say and said on here. That's not the intent. But not interested in getting edited by the YouTube police or something like that. So the YouTube bots. I don't think it's the YouTube police. I think it's the YouTube bots. There's all these bots policing stuff, and if something, I don't know if it's something that they hear, but if something's seen on the screen, they kind of like to infringe on that being shown on there. So when I was talking about that book, I cover up the crooked spider. I don't want to, I don't find it offensive if you were to play a game here and it's a tank that's the right thing and it has one of those air recognition um, symbol on there by you might just see a vehicle on it, but I'm not going to show it online because it just creates problems. I don't think that I don't think it's even an issue for any of my viewers. I mean, I got pretty mature people that watch this, so YouTube algorithm loves how-to videos. So if you stay away from them, you'll be all right. Yeah. But like I said, I'm gonna do what I do. If that coincides with what you're interested in, cool. If you want to just come here for the banter, cool. This is just kind of like hanging out, and we're doing talk radio without any controversial positions or talking about sports or, God forbid, politics. Um, you can actually talk about politics. You just can't talk about politics with people that are, oh, my people are right and the other guys are all evil. It's like, you're just being manipulated. You're being manipulated. So, I'm not a fanboy of anybody, so I'm not interested in going to bat for anything. You could have somebody you think is your buddy, he thinks exactly how you think, and you get elected, and then there's just a shit show like everybody else. So, like, why get excited about anybody? We had a local election here. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever voted in. I moved into this town that I've worked in. It's 15 minutes outside the other town I used to live my whole life at. And there was an election. I'm like, all right, we'll vote. And it's a city commission election. And there was one of our neighbors, literally like 3 houses down, is the person that's running for re-election. And I ran into her at a gathering, and I'm like, I just talk to her just kind of out in general. Like, well, who's running against you? Well, you need to come vote for me. I said, why do you hear the other person's platform? I mean, it just, and she just laughed. And I said, apparently just somebody that wanted to launch themselves in the position without really any experience at all, which, sometimes new blood is better, but, if you don't have any experience, like, you know, balancing a checkbook, it's probably not a good idea to have somebody like that. But my wife and I went to vote, and we had this huge form to fill, and there was only two choices. There was no other amendments or anything. It was like literally this huge piece of paper for just this one little election. Okay, so this thing is still kind of wet, so I'm going to go in and we're going to let's put some what I like to call scratches that aren't really scratches, but we're going to take the base color, which is this late war Dunkelgelb, and I don't have to water this down at all because this thing is super watery. And we're going to put some spots on here that may have rubbed up against a tree or something like that, come into contact with something else. Makes them look imperfect to some degree or another. And we're going to, of course, try it on the running gear first. Yeah, I'm not sure how that YouTube algorithm works. I don't hate technology, but man, I don't do that stuff for a living. It's like last thing I need is more chaos. What happens if I put a little bit like that? These two things are going to be painted rusty, so there's no real reason to do that on there. You've gotten into technology. You ever get into the Pacific Theater of World War II? Come to Fredericksburg, Texas, see the Nimitz Museum and the Pacific War Museum. Yeah, I'm not into the Pacific for a couple of reasons. The main reason is I don't think I'm already American, and there's so many people that are so American centric. And don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want to be live in another country, but sometimes it's more fun to learn about something different. Like I don't like American history. It's just like boring. There's not enough. There's not enough. Like there's not enough interesting stuff. So you end up learning about like laws and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, I'm not interested in that. And when you start getting after Guadalcanal, it's kind of one sided from a wargaming aspect. I'm not saying again, oh, like it was a walk in the park. It wasn't a walk in the park, but it was. If you're looking at it from a gaming standpoint, you can't have these objectives of whoever kills more people or whatever, because it's a production. There's just a resource, a huge difference of resources by that point. The U.S. is producing so much stuff more than the Japanese are, and the Japanese have a lot of experienced people that just aren't around anymore. So it's like a double whammy. My job showed me this AI they've been using for student. It's really crazy how much universities will know about their students by using AI. Is that why they specifically go and let the Marxists in? They have all the Marxists. I can't imagine being a student again. I can't imagine being a student. I can't imagine dating again. What a pain in the ass that is. Okay, I think that's enough of that. Let's get in here and do some black lining. Make this little Joker pop. Make this little Nazi thing pop. Yep, all my Germans are Nazis. All my Soviets are communist. Hey, it keeps me from promoting either one of those two things or coming in here like, man, Tony really likes painting German stuff. What's wrong with him? Nothing. I like painting German stuff. They're evil rat bastards, you know? They still had cool kit. And that's it. That's where it stops. Could see how you're disinterested. The other thing that's really sucky. I'm primarily gaming. I started doing naval before anything else. So, like, I don't mind doing Guadalcanal. I've even done campaigns with Guadalcanal. I don't have a problem doing ABDA stuff because, you know, you've got some different nations that are involved fighting the Japanese. But once you get after Guadalcanal, almost all the battles involve one type of American destroyer, the Fletcher. If there's any light cruisers, they're Clevelands. If there's any heavies, they're primarily Baltimore's. So you start getting these lack of variety of type of thing. Now the battleships are still cool, but they're so slow that if one side wants to avoid combat with them, except unless your name is Fuso or Yamashiro, it's easy to avoid combat with them. And not only that, I was really disappointed to find out that a lot of paint schemes were consistent from ship to ship. For instance, there's a late war paint scheme that the U.S. did that I want to say it's measure 32A or maybe it's 32C or something like that. Anyways, it's like a crazy cool camouflage, and it actually is very attractive. I think it's an extremely attractive camouflage scheme. But I was very disappointed to find out that if you have a Fletcher class destroyer painted with the zag and the blue in this area and then a black one here, the dark gray, it was the same for every ship. So it didn't matter whether your destroyer was the Sullivans or whether it was something else. If it was painted in a measure 32, it was painted exactly the same for each one of those ships. I'm like, well, that takes the freaking fun out of it. I mean, I understand the practicality. It makes sense, but we're not interested in practicality. We're interested in, you know, panache. So, I did get a Pacific Flight game a couple years ago for the Oculus. It runs great. And as soon as it came out, I'm like, good. I'll be able to play it. I'll learn about the planes. I want to read more about the planes. It's, you know, when I say I don't know a lot about it, I have a lot more knowledge than most people, you know, because I've built models before and, you know, I mean, I understand that, you know, a Hellcat's better than a Wildcat and, you know, it's armed with 650 caliber machine guns and that kind of stuff. You know, I know the general gist of all the stuff. But I'm like, we're going to be able to talk planes while we're flying. Like, I'm playing this and, like, nobody that's playing even gives a shit about World War II. I'm like, what the hell? You know, it's like, I'm here with the wrong crowd, you know? I don't think I'm interested in individual battles like DBA. I want to play a game that focuses on the campaign level with simplified battles with miniatures. You talking about World War II? Yeah, I'm not a strategic player. I'm not. That's just not my thing. I think that it's all about grenade. If I'm talking about like land combat, and I've played games that are 1 to 5 scale and stuff like that, but in the future, it's all about grenades. I want a game that it's important where the grenade lands. So that kind of stuff. If it's just, if he figures this tall and the grenade goes this far, I'm not interested in playing it. So because it doesn't promote the narrative that I'm interested in seeing. Um, but I'm not interested in like the island hopping stuff. It's just too much off-board artillery, man. How do you survive 16 and 14-inch rounds just nailing your ass? But Burma, I think Burma has a lot of potential. New Guinea, but Burma specifically, because the Japanese were even into 1945, they were launching offensives in Burma. They weren't successful, but they could have been. New Guinea was contested all the way through the war. I did not know that. I thought that once they got out of the whole 1943 Vella Lavella, all that kind of stuff, I just figured that they took New Guinea. I didn't know that it was contested all the way through the end of the war. That's kind of interesting. Saw someone mix tabletop wargaming with literal tabletop role playing. Yeah, yeah, that's the way to do it. That's what I like. You know, um, and I've played the other games before. They don't tickle my fancy. There's not enough detail in it. I like playing a game and learning something new about the conflict. But I'm the exception. Most people like strategy. Most people like strategy type war games. That's just not my thing. Anything more zoomed out than like advanced squad leader, I'm just not my thing. I don't want to read books on that level either. Yeah, that's a lot better now. Just got to make those things pop. You got to pop when they're all the way across on the other side of the board. But this is a very realistically scaled model. Which reminds me, I need to glue the MG42 back up here. So you have two armies and the two players, but there's like a nearby city, so that city's mayor or garrison commander is another player, while the other players played soldiers and spies. It's a cool way to get everybody in the room playing instead of two people playing while everyone watches. I'm planning on putting everybody on one team, and I'll run the other guys. And I'm not playing to win. I'm not playing to let them win either. It's the narrative. I like when you're talking about having a teammate. I like, and not everybody likes this. I think Mitch likes it too. A cooperative game, because I like to talk to the other person out loud about like what I'm going to do, kind of like what I was doing with DBA, where I'm like, all right, I could do this, or I can do the other thing, or maybe I can do something else. I don't. I'm not that interested in outsmarting somebody that I enjoy playing with. Like that's my play a game with people you don't mind losing to. You know, some people are like, oh, I got to play this game and it's got to be competitive. I'm competitive anyways, but I'm just saying I don't want to play a game where you're so damn aggressive that I don't want to do anything that I have to do at work. And at work, I already have to fight for my life, seems like all the time. So I don't mind having a teammate that you can kind of cheer on and stuff like that. Not everybody, it's not everybody's cup of tea. I'm surprised, but it's not everybody's cup of tea. But it is for me. Um, oh yeah. The other thing about doing this black lining is it forces you to run your brush across every single detail that the people decided to put on this model for your enjoyment. Instead of just like, let's just wash it and let God sort it out. Well, I've already put a wash on it. I've already done a brown wash on it. This is just a black one, which, you know, almost like probably dark gray really by the time it's watered down. Yeah, I like to see where the game goes rather than play to win. Yeah, I played one of the coolest games I've ever played in a war game. I wasn't running it, I was playing it. And it was a game of Advanced Squad Leader. Doesn't matter if you've never played Advanced Squad Leader before, you could probably understand where I'm going at with this. But there's two sets of boards. Two players are in two different rooms. And there's two sets of boards that are identical. And the GM goes between rooms and he'll go, one guy sets up their stuff on one board, and the other one sets up on the other one. And the GM, it's up to them to find out when they can spot each other. And if they get any, they never put actual counters of the other units on the other person's board. They'll put like question marks. There's like question marks and stuff on there. They'll say like, you get machine gun fire, rifle and machine gun fire, or a heavy cannon, or yeah, if you do see a tank or something like that. But you don't identify like, oh, that's a 457 squad. We know exactly what they do. And it was one of the coolest experiences I ever had. And it forced you to do things in the game that weren't necessarily part of your objective, but you just did them just because it made good military sense to gather information. So I learned immediately, and this is a long time ago, but in that environment, I'm like, all right, I need to find out as much information as I can without revealing my own position as much as I can. So that's like, thinking outside the box, thinking realistically. And it ended up being a great freaking game. I played like 3 games of it. But you need somebody who's willing to not play and that knows the rules well. And that doesn't all necessarily coincide with what either you have planned or the skill level of the people in your group. But I remember detaching like a half squad to go on a hill just to get more information. Just see what the hell's out there. You know. But it was a really cool concept. But one of the things I liked about DVA a lot was that everything is seen by both people. Everything. So, oh, that's interesting. That has a line there. All right. Well, what about this one? So both people know everything that's happening. They just can't do anything about it. As their lemmings won't sometimes won't listen to you. But you as the player get to know about everything that's going on. And sometimes it's not in favor of you. But I don't know. I feel like it provides a lot of clarity. Oh yeah, I can. This looks 100 times better. Joshua Garcia, welcome. Sounds interesting. We played something very similar to that at the Navy's Advanced Division Officer School, but obviously with warships instead of soldiers. DABA with little role play would really be peak DBA. Well, with more role playing. Yeah, like a couple of those scenarios that we did. A couple of guys submit. I really like that. Battles where I like battles where you have this force and it's not set up by you and it's not ideal and you just have to fix the problem. Like you get called into the situation and it's a snafu. Make the best out of it, you know. And the other guy has the same problems too. It's not like, hey, let's find a way to torture me. The other guy's got the same problems to deal with. Um, 'Cause I'm definitely never been one of those war gamers that's like, I'm going to play with my elite SS Space Marine dudes that are, the best. And I may not have many of them, but they're 1,200 points each and nobody can stop them. And I'm like, okay, sometimes, some of the best games are where you have either crap stuff or you just have to think outside the box, out of your comfort zone, and come up with a plan that, you know, that's the cards you've been dealt for whatever reason. And if the game is unbalanced, that's the whole thing about DBAs. If you're playing a scenario and the DBA scenario is unbalanced, it's DBA. You can play it twice. Play both of you. Both people change sides, and then see. If you want to be really competitive about it, see who did better on what team. Who played the Germans better, or who played so and so better, and go from there. But having scenarios that are not balanced is not a problem. Yeah, I really like those scenarios too. And if I was really interested in viewership, if that was the most important thing on my plate, I'd still be playing DBA because I took probably a big hit on viewership not doing DBA anymore. And I get it, but at the same time, I probably would have gone crazy if I was still doing it this day and age with, my workload the way it is and the lack of participation for many folks. I mean, the DBA community is pretty vibrant, but it's all over the world, and not necessarily in my area. Like I was mentioning, I want to see more than two people play a DBA battle, but not more armies, but more role-playing roles like Spy Element Commander. I think your how-to videos is the most popular video. Are they not? They are. They are, and it's really frustrating because I still get shit wrong, you know. And probably the most discouraging thing for me for DBA was that the DB that, and I've mentioned this before, is the internet gives everybody a voice, and some people don't deserve one. And I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about there are purveyors of chaos out there. And you go and you try to do your best to try to advance whatever hobby, so that people will play this cool rule system. And then somebody asked another question on one of the DBA forums that is the first person to answer, and they've yet never played a game, and it's 180 degrees to how everybody else plays the game. So you feel like you have to do damage control, and I got tired of doing damage control. I just got tired of doing damage control, and was kind of was getting really burned out on that. And honestly, I was pretty offended that that somebody in our group basically disappeared off the face of the earth from playing DBA stuff for 15 years, and then they wanted to go back at the helm, which I'm fine with that, but they didn't even know that we had done a single DBA 3.0 video. Now, how can you be the captain of a ship? I want to be in charge of the ship, and you have no idea whether the ship is steam powered or is on sails. It was like, fuck it, take the reins, have fun with it, because it was just got really, really frustrating to go and try to do something for. I started doing it like, I don't want this game to die, because all this time that I've spent on the figures, I don't want it to be wasted. If nobody plays this game, my time, I'll have these figures with a game that nobody wants to play. And then it turned into, this fucking game is frustrated and keeping me from ever playing World War II again, or doing World War II stuff again. And it just became like, I went from one end to the other. And it was a gradual process. It wasn't like I just woke up one day and decided to do it, but it was like, and it was the right decision. It was the right decision. That, and you had a lot of people who were, particularly retired people, that were like, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do more stuff. And you're like, you're the asshole that's retired, man. I'm the one that's overworked in my workplace, and I'm trying to do this for some therapy from going crazy, and it's not working real well. So let me just step aside, and you have fun with it. Gotta play what you love. Yep. Nobody likes a grumpy gamer. Of all the games of DBA I've played, I've probably had a grumpy gamer in maybe 2%. It's really the exception. But it's frustrating having somebody that just undoes everything you have to do, and you're having to do a bunch of damage control. And it happens all the time. There's a couple of Facebook groups, and I'm just saying Facebook because I use Facebook a lot because it's easy to post videos and comments. But bulletin boards are just as bad. You'll have something. Naval Historia is one of them, and then there's one that I've got like I love tanks or something, and somebody will just say some outlandish shit that the person is either really uneducated or just trying to cause trouble, that just sends a lot of people down a rabbit hole. And it's like, you just have to it's like the Pied Piper. They just send them all off over a cliff, and yeah. So, and like really wrong shit. I remember there was this picture of the battleship Tirpitz, and one guy made a comment about it, another one made a comment about it, and everyone was like, oh, wasn't that the one that sank the Inflexible at the Battle of Jutland? I'm like, what the hell are you smoking, dude? First of all, it was a World War II ship or whatever. It's just like, shut your mouth. And the next thing you know, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was the ship. It's like you're just sending people down the wrong way. I'm like, I've had enough. I've had enough. And you have a game system that's not easy to learn, and you encounter issues that aren't addressed in the rules, and you can't make a judgment call because it's a tournament game to make sure that future games are run that way. Whereas this, if I play this rule set and something doesn't make sense, changing that rule, I don't know that there's going to be any instances of that, but there's no reason I have to put up with something that everybody playing the game with agrees doesn't make sense, but you have to play it that well because for the sake of the community or for the sake of the tournament scene, to be consistent. So, but that's just my two fenning worth. which I'm sure most of you guys have heard me probably beat that to death. But I don't have anything against DBA per se, um, but I'm and I don't even mind watching other people play a game of it. But don't come to me with your freaking questions because I'm not going to look stuff up. You know, them days are over. Okay, so we have this Packwagen, which they made very few of these things. And these things really didn't start showing up in force. Well, they never started showing up in force. But it's almost like a post-Battle of the Bulge. It's definitely a very late 44, 1945 vehicle. And we may just have to do some other tinkering with it. But let's see if we can't get some dry brushing on this Panther. Start bringing this thing up to life. Or these Panthers. All right, man. Thanks for stopping by, as always. We'll catch you on the next one, or maybe the one after that, or maybe 3 down after that. You know the drill. You know the drill. I think I'm going to... Do I have to do the numbers first? Ooh, that's a thought. If I got to dry... I'm not going to do the final dry brush yet. Let's put something down before we do the numbers. I do not have doing the numbers. And as much as I like doing numbers, hand painting numbers, and I really do like hand painting numbers, it's too late to start that now. Not when I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I could fade out at any moment here. There's a couple times where I was doing a paint session. I think I actually fell asleep. Hey, it's better than painting stressing you out. It should be a relaxing activity. Now I'm going to go really light on that. These have big red and white numbers. And they look kind of rough, but not super rough, but they need to look like they were hand painted, which will be really easy because I'll be hand painting them. All right, we'll do the same thing over here. we're just going to finish this and then we'll wrap up for the night too. Because like I said earlier, I've been up for a while. Had to do something unusual. I had to travel, just a little day trip for work, but still. Get up earlier than I normally do by an hour or so. Okay, and then we'll do this kind of a slow treatment there, light treatment. On the tracks. And the machine guns and stuff, we paint those after all the dry brushing is done. And that's where I'm going to stop. I'm going to leave the Iraqi sand for later, but yeah, this thing actually looks pretty good. Okay, folks,